Discrete random variables. Now, before we understand what a discrete random variable is, let's have a look at the main difference between constants and variables. Constants and variables are both quantities. However, for constants, the quantity is always fixed. Whereas for variables, whatever amount there is of the quantity, it will vary. And that is the main difference between constants and variables. The quantity is fixed for constants, and the quantity varies for variables. So now that we've understood what a variable is, the question that comes into play is, what is a random variable? What is a random variable? Well, a random variable can be defined as this. It says, a random variable is a quantity that takes up values that are chance-based. So once again, a random variable is a quantity, just like constants and variables are quantities. A random variable is also a quantity that takes up values that are chance-based. Chance-based implies that it has probabilities assigned to it. Now, for example, let's say we are conducting an experiment where we are rolling a dice and we are interested in seeing what number does the dice land on when we roll it. So the experiment is that we are interested in seeing the number that shows up on the dice when we roll it. And now let's define the statement with the letter x. Now, is x being the number that shows up on the dice, is this a variable? Well, yes, it is a variable. And how do we know it's a variable? Well, this quantity x takes up different values. When you're rolling a dice, your dice can either land on a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6. And therefore, this quantity automatically becomes a variable. So yes, x is a variable. And now the question is x a random variable? The answer to this is also yes. And how do we know it's a random variable? Because all these values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they are definitely chance-based. And what does chance-based mean? It means they all have individual probabilities. They all have a chance of occurring. For example, the probability of 1 occurring is 1 upon 6. The probability of 2 occurring is 1 upon 6, and so on. You can write them for the rest of the numbers. And the probability of 6 occurring is also 1 upon 6. And therefore, the experiment of rolling a dice where your variable x has different outcomes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they all have assigned probabilities, and therefore the variable x automatically becomes a random variable. So to summarize these two definitions, we know a variable is a quantity where the amount of the quantity constantly changes, and a random variable is that quantity of a variable where those values are chance-based. You have different probabilities or different chances of having those values. And now to define the final definition of what this chapter is really about, a discrete random variable. What is a discrete random variable? Well, this is how it can be defined. A discrete random variable only comprises of discrete values. So for example, in this experiment, all these values are discrete values, which means that they are whole numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They do not have numbers such as 1.5, 1.6, etc., etc. So a discrete random variable will only consist of whole numbers, discrete numbers, and will not have continuous data.